everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. My name is Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
Hello. Um, Sorry, it's really weird because you guys will see later this week, why we're why we saw each other yesterday, and you'll see later this week why that is.
Yeah, you will.
If Mars' computer doesn't crap out first.
It keeps opening a tab. It keeps opening Microsoft Edge. I don't use Microsoft Edge.
But I guess we'll kind of just swing right into talking about the Leafs because, I mean, it was two of the very similar games, and obviously, like, I gotta turn my brightness off. My screen was too dark, but there we go. The Leafs had Florida come visit them for the first of three matchups between now and the end of the season against a team that Toronto's kind of fighting for first in the Atlantic with. So these are key games because they can be pretty major swings. It was Anthony Stolarz getting the start against his former team and former like goalie partner and Sergei Bobrovsky because
Why not?
the other option is Vitek Vanacek. Did you forget that guy's there now? Because I sure did. Sorry, every time I look at my laptop screen, it's just Marcie looking very, very concerned.
Sorry, the NordVPN logo was just hovering.
Do you have NordVPN?
Yeah, but why? What's up? Sorry, for context, my laptop had a crisis right before I joined the call, and the screen went black. So now I don't know what's happening with it. I feel like an old woman who's like really doesn't know what's happening. It's fine. NordVPN is no longer hovering on your bedroom wall.
Fantastic.
She's always lovely.
Incredible stuff there. Sorry, I'm just realizing where my camera angle, it looks really weird for me because I have a turtleneck on. Look, I was like, oh, I have to wear green because it's St. Patrick's Day. And so I was like, oh, I could wear a fleece, but I was like, I don't want to because I have a couple green fleeces I could have worn. But so I decided on the green turtleneck under a brown sweater instead. And I thought, hey, that's pretty good. Yeah. But I will say, so the Leafs have been in this weird trend where they score really early, and it gives us a lot of hope of like, hey, they're actually gonna play well tonight. This is great. Which is exactly what happened in this game. John Tavares scores early, 2 minutes into the game, with a tip in on a gorgeous cross ice pass from William Nylander, in which I go, hey, anyone who's ever been criticizing them on the same line, do you have eyes? Because that's like the common criticism I'm seeing from like the Sudbury hockey uncles or the guys who like care too much about like crazy advanced stats is like they don't like the like JT Nylander, like them on the same line. It doesn't matter who who the left winger is there. They're like, I don't like the two of them together because it doesn't work. I'm like, I think it works perfectly. I think they're perfectly able to complement each other's abilities. And that's what we've seen like so many times. Like I think it's like I feel like I tweet it like every game because every game it's either one of the two of them scoring, if I'm correct. That like
it is something I hear you say a lot.
Or if you follow me on Twitter, I do tweet like I'm like, these two together, fantastic, 10 out of 10. Keep it up.
You're doing great, sweetie.
You're doing fantastic. But yeah, because they have chemistry, and I think even John Tavares today in his pregame stuff like addressed the chemistry between him and Nylander, being like, yeah, we do work well together. So Your faces are just incredible.
This is what happens when I get really stressed.
But and then the Leafs make some defensive mistakes despite Florida Panthers missing Brad Marchand, which is still weird. Matthew Tkachuk and Aaron Ekblad for various reasons. Those various reasons span injuries to suspensions for prohibited substances. I feel like I can't say steroids because we don't know if it was steroids or if it was just him taking like Adderall. But it's way cooler for me to go Aaron Ekblad steroid suspension than Eric Ekblad performance-enhancing substances suspension. But
yeah.
And then Max Domi fights Nate Schmidt after a clean hit on Carter Verhaeghe, who I definitely misspelled his last name in my notes, but it doesn't matter. And then
even after Googling it, I still managed to not spell it right.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. One of our editors in chief at Offside, Ariel, has an infamous tweet, which I feel like it's like Googling how to spell Verhaeghe so I can tell him to kill himself. So I can threaten to kill him or something. It's like one of those things where I'm like, Evergreen. Sorry, Carter Verhaeghe. And then like it's one of those things, I don't know. He's good, unfortunately, and he was a Leafs draft pick. He did play on the Marlies, and then Leafs traded him in a massive, like he was part of a pretty big trade. But I'm trying to. Oh, I definitely misspelled it in my notes. I always forget about the H. But yeah, the trade was it was with the Marlies for 2 games. Fantastic, kind of stuff. For Michael Grabner, with a bunch of prospects, that he was the only one who turned out into anything. And it was for Michael Grabner, which, if that name is unfamiliar to you because you, I don't know, did not care about a guy who scored 9 goals in 2015-16 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's Michael Grabner. He spent a season in which he played 80 games, 18 points, and when the Leafs were terrible. He was a right wing from Austria. Anyways, yay. I was going to say it's not even a big trade because it was from Michael Grabner. Sorry, anyways. Then, so, Max Domi fights Nate Schmidt, and everyone's like, okay, whatever. Sure. And then Max Domi does something and then it pans to Ty Domi, in which he is giving the most unimpressed facial expression I've ever seen of all time. And I'm like, okay. Hi, Ty. You blocked me on Twitter. I'm never gonna let that go.
He didn't like the fact that you're right all the time.
Like when like those like musician like fan accounts or whatever are like, oh, like they're like noticed by whatever X number of times.
And it's like being blocked.
Do you think I can cut this as a Ty Domi note to be like added to my list of like hockey player interactions? Be like, yeah, Ty Domi has me blocked on Twitter. I've basically met the man.
I'm sure I think if anyone of note has blocked me.
I don't know. Max Domi has not blocked me yet, but Ty Domi has blocked me.
It's fine, you'll get there.
One day. I don't want to like go out of my way to ask, because people have been asking. I'm like, well, of course he's going to block you if you ask Max Domi to block you on Twitter.
That's not the fun part. The fun part is like randomly finding out you've been blocked.
Exactly. That's the best part. But then Max Domi does something in which I've never seen Max Domi ever do. And that is managed to score a goal off of a breakaway.
There's a first time for everything.
The silence, the stunned silence, incredible. It's one of those things where it's like, I think it was like, I have written down, it's like, I don't even know how to talk about this because he's never going to do it again.
No.
Like, we can't even
The
be like,
once in a
yeah,
lifetime.
this is going to be a big part of his like, this is a big part of his game. Like, he's really good at doing this or whatever, or like, but no, it's just, we're never going to see this from him ever again. We're going to be like, oh, remember the Max Domi legacy game in which he fought Nate Schmidt, scored a goal, but the Leafs still lost, which I think is a Max Domi legacy game, which is the title that our the fellow writer at Offsides and also guest of the friend of the show and guest on the show, Cody, proceeded to call this game
Cody!
all night. So shout out to Cody for that one. But yeah, and then like, so then it's 3-2 and you're like, oh, can the Leafs tie it? And then the Leafs pull Anthony Stolarz for the extra attacker and you're going, no, the Leafs are not going to tie this because they're terrible at 6-on-5.
So bad.
Like, they're good at defending it. That's fine. That's not the issue. It's the fact that they cannot score 6-on-5. And some of that is they haven't really been in a lot of situations where they've had to be on 6-on-5. Like, that's some of it. They had that really long stretch, that really long streak, I should say, this season where if they had been going into the third period with a lead, they win the game until I think it was what, against San Jose that they ended that streak. But like, so they haven't really necessarily had to go 6, like pull the extra, they have had to in comeback game scenarios, but the only times they've scored 6-on-5 this season has been twice. I know which team they're both against. Do you know? Do you have a
I'm not
throw a
gonna...
team out there? I know I'm catching you like late at night. I'm not catching you at like 9 p.m. But I'm going to say the team and you're going to be like, you're going to remember the game. That's going to make it really obvious. Okay. Do you want me to just give it to you anyways?
Yeah.
Boston.
Fucking course.
Are you now remembering their comeback game where Pontus Holmberg scores the game-tying goal and then they win it in OT off of a Mitch Marner breakaway? Are you now? I was like, as soon as I give you the team, you're gonna think of exactly the game in which you should have thought of to get the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I will say though, I did see that clip from that game on Behind the Bee where it was like, because they had like Pasternak mic'd up. So there was 2 moments. There's the one where it was like him and Stolarz were chatting, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And then it was another one where it was like after the game, and it's like just like a shot of Pasternak, and you see like Stolarz like skating behind him with his arms up in the air. And it's like, that TikTok sound where it's like the car driving by with the music?
Yeah. Oh.
Anyways.
That's reminded me of, I can't remember if I sent it to you, but I saw a TikTok the other day. And it was this guy being like, I'm going to play Freebird on the harmonica whilst skiing. And it's just, skis past and it's just, you. I need to find it because you'll like it. You'll like that one.
Well, I have beef with Freebird, but yeah, I would probably like it. You know my personal beef with Freebird.
Yeah, I do, but it's funny.
All right, send it my way and I'll watch it after the show. But like, anyway, so Leafs lose. And it's one of those things where it's like the Leafs like recently, and I think it's especially since post-Four Nations, have been having these like games where they're not winning the close games. First of all, they're not even having the crazy blowout wins anymore. But like the games where it's even like it's close, they're not winning necessarily. Like they won quite a few of them earlier, like, like New York was close, Pittsburgh was close, that game in Boston was close, Chicago was even close. Like they're not they were struggling with the close games, which they were winning at one point, and I think if we even said it too, where they're like, okay, they're winning these close games, but like, it very easily could be a way where like it's not going to go their way. And now we've hit this stretch where those games are not going their way. And, it's fine. Like, I'm not saying panic. Like, I'm not, hit the big red panic button or whatever, but it is something to be kind of concerned on because you're heading into the last month of the season now, actually. It's March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. The Leafs' last game of the season is actually a month today against Detroit on April 17th.
Oh.
So we've officially hit the last month of the Leafs regular season.
Oh my God, it's the 17th.
Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day. That's why we're wearing green.
No, that's just like deadline time hitting and just been like.
Oh, for your dissertation.
You've made me like not realize that I've got just over a month. But you've just made me realize I've got just over a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I
love life.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, is like, I don't want to say the play's lacking, and some of it, maybe I have it written down here, Berube system ? As if like we are very used to Sheldon Keefe's system where like team just outscores their problems and everything else. Whereas here, I'm not saying our goaltending has been bad. Our goaltending's been fine. Like, fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's been good, actually. Like, that's not where the issue is. And but it's one of those things where it's like the Leafs aren't scoring to the rate that they had in the past. Some of that is injury by players. Other of it is just natural regression, but it's like Matthews is hurt. I mean, William Nylander is not facing any sort of regression when it comes to his scoring. He's, leading the team in goals. But I think it's one of those things where like, because you're having to rely on, having to win the close games, because most games have been close, because you're not scoring, 5, 6, 7 goals every single night, or most nights like the Leafs had been, previously under Sheldon Keefe, that when like there's a slight, like the mistakes made defensively hit impact more than they had in the past.
Yeah.
Which, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like we can't fully judge until we see what this team looks like in the playoffs, because we all know, and I've complained about it many, many times, especially throughout the playoffs last year. I went on many rants about Sheldon Keefe's system not working in the playoffs because he changes the way that the Leafs play in the playoffs. Like, they just played a different system, and it didn't match them in the regular season, and that was apparent in how they played. But and it's one of those things, I'm going to address them now because they've scored quite a few times since leaving Toronto and going to Pittsburgh now. Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins have both been scoring, and people are like, oh, like, of course this always happens. Guys leave Toronto and then they suddenly become way better. And it's like, no, they are just two guys that weren't fully fitting under Berube's system. Connor Timmins went from being always talked about as an offensive defenseman. Like, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I thought like everyone was forgetting that, where I was like, I thought that's how he was sold to us, was an offensive defenseman for years. And it was like, I just remember that. And it was one of those things because I remember being like, he's not Erik Karlsson. I called him like a forward who can skate backward, and he's not even good at being a forward. Like, I've said so many apologies to Connor Timmins. I don't even mean it as a personal attack against him. It's just I've been critical of his play in the past. And so he's going to Pittsburgh, where it's a much more offensive system, or it's even Connor Dewar as well as not. He's back to scoring kind of at a similar rate to what he was in in Minnesota because he already has 3 goals in how many games? He had a 2-goal game over the weekend with Pittsburgh, and he had a game, him and Timmins both scored in their first game with Pittsburgh with the Penguins, that they are now like, and Dewar's back to playing how he was in Minnesota, which allowed him to play not as defensively and allowed the offensive parts of his game, which I said when he came to Toronto that he had. Even when he was forced to play defensively, even when he was shorthanded, he was still being able to produce offense. So it's not necessarily, I think it's not necessarily like Toronto, like curse, whatever, like when guys leave Toronto, the Toronto effect, or as people are trying to label it. I think it's just simply guys playing under a different system and out of that very defensive shutdown mindset that Berube has this team playing by, which is, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. If the Leafs do well this season in the playoffs, then like it works. There's nothing about it that says it doesn't work. I'm just saying you need to find the right fit in personnel, and sometimes that just means guys having to go elsewhere, which is, again, is the sport. That's hockey. That's how this works.
Yes.
But I did want to say that because, it's not, it's just, it was something I've been seeing. So I felt like it needed to be said.
Yes.
And now while we're talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're having their Phil Kessel bobblehead night on Friday, and I'm so upset that I'm so upset that I have a midterm on Friday. I'm so mad about it.
Boo.
And I have something to do on Saturday for a class, so it's like I literally cannot be in Pittsburgh, but I wanted to be in Pittsburgh so bad, and I was like, it got to the point where I was looking up like tickets at the game, being like, how expensive would it be? $37 US to sit in the 232s.
Oh my god.
I want to go there so bad to get a Phil Kessel bobblehead. So this is my call out to anyone located in around Pittsburgh who is a Penguins fan and would be going to that game and does not want their Phil Kessel bobblehead. Or maybe, I don't know, someone affiliated with the Pittsburgh Penguins is listening to this episode, in which case, hi. Sorry, we're not a Pittsburgh, but like, send me a bobblehead, please.
Like, you are the Phil Kessel person. They should have consulted you to make sure you have it, like it's fit with your schedule.
It's also one of those things where it's like, it's not even, I'm working on getting like one of my hockey class, like my hockey class term paper up online, and I had sent it to some of our friends to like look over to be like, hey, is this good? Like, hey, is there any edits that I should make or anything? Or it's like, just read it. I know you're curious. And Kay, who we've had on the podcast, was like, this is literally like the Emma bingo card. The only thing that's missing is a Phil Kessel mention.
Yeah.
This is like the Emma like personality bingo card, like filled out. Like the only thing missing is a Phil Kessel mention.
Oh god. So we will get you a bobblehead one way or another.
I want a bobblehead so bad. I just think like, I don't know, I wouldn't even put it on my desk. I'd put it like behind me. I have like a shelf on my dresser and stuff, which I say as I point to something that only Marcie can see. But like I have like a whole thing, and it can go right next to my Mitch Marner Funko Pop. That's like behind me that you can't really see because he's very far away. But yeah. I always need to move my desk like closer to my dresser so everyone can see. So
everyone, and it's me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, just you. I mean, you can make out the like Star Wars poster.
Oh yeah.
And then slightly out of frame is the old One Direction Harry Styles poster.
That's incredible.
That my friend got me as a gag gift for like Christmas a couple years ago because we did like a Secret Santa. And she would like got it for me like as a gag gift. And I was like, I'm putting this up in my bedroom now. She's like, no, you're not going to. I'm like, yes, I am. To the point that like when I got back to Ottawa for school, I sent her a picture.
And you're like, I told you.
And I was like, told you I'd put it up.
Oh, I don't have any like silly posters. I have
You have a bunch of movie ones.
Close Encounters, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars, The Wizard of Oz, and then I have an Interstellar one on the side of my wardrobe. Because I'm a girl who loves her posters. No, I was going to shuffle around and my pillows are in the wrong position. This is devastating.
Oh, no. Anyway, so now we're going to move on to
Drumroll.
talking about Leafs in Ottawa. The Senators were in town. It was Anthony Stories getting the second start in a row, which is unlikely, but I think it's one of those things, again, moving into the last month of the season, you're going to see a little bit of reshuffling when it comes to the goalie rotation. I think also it's one of those things of, even out the starts a little bit after Wool had to make so many when Stolarz was out because of injury. So it was Stolarz against Linus Ullmark, who unfortunately has endeared me because now I'm in Ottawa all the time. I watch so many of their games.
Yeah.
It's Linus Ullmark though. Like, how can you not be endeared by him?
But you can't not love him.
Yeah, unfortunately. There was a bit of a lineup shuffle. I'm gonna pull up the lineup actually. There was a bit of a lineup. No, sorry. There's a bit of a lineup shuffle with Max Domi on the after his legacy game on the top line against with Matthews and Nyes, Marner on the second with Tavares and McMahon, Nylander on the third on the left with Lawton and Yarncroke on the right, and then Holberg out for David Kampf, who was healthy scratched this game, with Lorentz and Robertson. Everything else stays the same, but that was a little bit of a shuffle, and I saw that lineup, and I said, how long will this last?
Yes.
Because I had a very strong suspicion it was not going to last the full game. Spoiler alert, it did not.
No.
But yeah, again, this is another thing. Leafs score first, and you think, oh, they're actually gonna do well this game. They're scoring first. This is great. This is a great sign. Then William Nylander, because it's William Nylander doing William Nylander things in which he essentially sets up his own goal. Like, there was assists on this. I don't remember. I know Carlo had one of them just because I wrote, oh yeah, it was Nick Robertson and Brandon Carlo. Carlo with his first point with the Leafs.
Yay.
But it was one of the things where it's like I totally had forgotten that there were assists on this goal, because if you watch it, it basically is all William Nylander doing William Nylander things, in which he just ditsy doodles his way through the front of the net and keeps his feet moving and tucks the puck in a little soft spot. Like, oh yeah, of course he's gonna score that.
That's just him. That's just William.
That's just Willie. But his ability to like keep control of the puck for that long as well through that many different skaters is a huge part of his skill and his game, and it's incredible to watch. Like, there was a goal this season. I can't remember who it was against, but I can see kind of and I did bring it up on the podcast for sure when we talked about it, that I was like, he didn't take a stride from when he entered the zone to when he scored. You just got blind. I wanted to know if you remember when I said that on the show. It's like there was a William Nylander goal this season where he didn't take a stride from his zone entry to when he scored. Do you remember that one? I can't remember who it was against.
No, I can remember witnessing it.
And you can remember then me talking about it because...
Yeah, and just like, wow.
I'd have to go back through my notes from this season and try and find it, because it definitely is something that I wrote down. in my notes. But I can't remember it. But if you can remember the game and the goal, let us know.
Yeah.
Send it our way. We'd appreciate it, actually. Please. But yeah. What else do I got here? Oh yes. I will say, like, the Leafs were struggling at various points by Ottawa, and this is almost me serving a compliment to the Ottawa Senators. They're a good team. I think a lot of Leaf fans, like, in watching this game, at least from what I saw, were like forgetting that Ottawa is like a good team, because I think we were so used to them being the Ottawa Senators for so long, like, who weren't making the playoffs, who were just a bad team, we were, finishing last against or whatever. But like the Ottawa Senators are a good team. They're a great team this season. Their lineup is dangerous, especially after the deadline with with adding in Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund, who I want higher than the fourth line. I just want to see him on a line with Shane Pinto and Ridley Gregg so badly. And Travis Green is not giving it to me, and it's incredibly frustrating as someone who is not a Sens fan. But like, anyways. But then Linus Ullmark makes an uncharacteristic misplay with the puck where he comes out of his crease to play the puck. There's some contact with Max Domi in which people are like, hey, that's goaltender interference. That was 7 feet outside of the crease. In what world is that goaltender interference? That is Linus Ullmark putting himself in a situation. I'm sorry, that's not interference. No. That's called Linus Ullmark putting himself in a situation. And in the words of Steve Dangle, if you're a goaltender, tend the goal. Because it gives Austin Matthews a chance for his easiest goal I think he's ever scored against a goalie. Ever. Because he had nothing but net and Max Domi in the back of the net to shoot at.
Does this just mean we need to start lining the entire team up to take shots at Max Domi's head? Is this how we start scoring?
I don't know, but it's one of those things I do have written down here, though, is that the only time I noticed Domi was when he was in the back of the net. That game. Yeah. Like, literally, the only time I noticed him in a game where, like, he was put on that top line with the expectation of his game was going to be elevated because you're playing with two talented forwards in Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes, that the expectation was for your game to be elevated.
There was no elevation.
There was no elevation. And he just wasn't there. And it's also against a team in which that line matchup of like Max Domi going up against guys like Tkachuk or Greg or Batherson who have that chippier part of their game, like even just like Matthew Highmore, like just like the Ottawa Senators are known for being like a very chippy physical team. David Perron is also in that lineup. Like Claude Giroux, who apparently big time chirper over there, right? But like there's this expectation of like Max Domi, because that's kind of who people like, or at least that's the identity I think people want to see in him. But I just think that like it wasn't there against a team where very like that was prime example of you to go toe to toe with Brady Tkachuk in terms of just getting on each other's nerves, and you didn't notice him.
Nope.
Unless Austin Matthews was taking a shot at his head because he was in the back of the net. Like,
this is once again where I ask, is it time to fire Max Domi into the sun?
But that's my thing. But and I will say though, at this point, that put the Leafs up 2-1. That goal, that mistake by Ullmark. if the Leafs had managed to win this game, everyone would be talking about the misplay by Ullmark. But no one's talking about the misplay by Ullmark because the Leafs lost anyways. So it doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, here, because then I have my next note is here comes Ottawa's old man squad, because both David Perron and Claude Giroux scored for the Sens to put them up 3-2. And I think it was when Claude Giroux scored that I was texting with Cody at this point as well, still. And I think both of us were like, yeah, Toronto's not going to win this. Because recently their inability to come back when from behind is non-existent, basically.
It's
so
frustrating. But it's just, we can't have nice things such as a Leafs win. That's asking for a bit much.
Yeah. Yeah, just knew Toronto wasn't going to win. Ridley Greig, his empty net goal chance was deemed offside. It was not a slap shot.
No.
He was way offside in a time, like, he just shouldn't have been that offside because he had so much time and space that there was no need for him to be that ahead of the puck.
But here we are.
But then Leafs legend Michael Amadio gets the empty netter that ends up counting because, yeah, of course.
Sure.
The spirit of Noah Gregor may be in San Jose now, but the idea is never dead.
He lives on.
I also have here Leafs your 6-on-5 because it's once again another opportunity where the Leafs are down by 1, scores 3-2 again, and the Leafs have a chance to tie the game with the empty net, and they once again fail to convert. And it's also a thing where this whole power play structure that they've been it's been allowing them, that it's been scoring, that's fine, whatever. But they are allowing too many like clearing chances on their power play, and it carries over onto their 6-on-5. You see the same issues where it's like they just allow too many clearing chances. I mean, penalty kill is also struggling. It's one of the worst in the league, and that's crucial because it was in this game against Ottawa where like David Perron's able to score because the Leafs, take an unfortunate missed call in which I'm cursing out the refs, and it's the same one tonight. It's like, yay, again tonight. I just got that. I got that notification. Katie retweeted the scouting the refs tweet.
She did. Yay!
I'm like I definitely remember talking about him being bad.
I love everything.
Anyways. But yeah. So the Leafs tonight, anyways, their penalty kill is an issue because they will take dumb penalties, or they'll just be penalties, calls that won't go their way in opportune times. And unfortunately, then they're giving up chances for the other team to get back into the game.
Yeah.
And Leafs your penalty kill.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tonight the Leafs are taking on the Calgary Flames for the last time this season. It's going to be Joseph Woll in net getting the start on St. Patrick's Day because it is not the Leafs. It's the St. Pats.
Yeah, it is.
My parents are going to be at this game. I'm incredibly jealous of them, but they're going to be at this game because my one of my favorite traditions is the St. Pat jerseys. I love it. I love the way it connects to the history of the team. I also love the green. Big fan all around. I think it's fun. I think it's unique.
Can you
Huge
ask
fan
them
of
to
it.
get some Archives wall content?
Can I me texting my parents? Can you take some pictures of Joseph Wool during warm-ups, please?
No particular reason.
Oh, they know I'm insane about Joseph Wool to a level.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some more lineup shuffle for tonight's game. Obviously, Mitch Marner is back on the top line with Matthews and Nyes. John Tavares is back with Nylander and Holmberg. Scott Lawton is on is fourth line. David Camp is still held out of the lineup. Max Domi is on the third line as the center with Robertson and McMahon. So it leaves Lawrence Lawton and Yarncroke on the fourth. So we got a third line center. And after how many games has it been? 1, 2, 3, 4 games. We have we have gone back to Max Domi as our third line center.
Like, he doesn't work. Max Domi does not work. The only place he should be is up in the press box. Please. I'm not strong enough. It's like they have all the answers to their problems, but they're just not used.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll crash.
Did I say that Dustin Wolf is getting the start tonight? So it's another Wolf versus Wolf game in which I'm going to be very annoyed at the commentators because they're going to sound really the same, and I'm going to be like, which one are you talking about? Is it Wool or is it Wolf?
Yeah.
It's like almost as bad as when the Leafs play Detroit and it's Wool versus Hall.
My brand.
But yeah, so Toronto is tied in points in the standings with Tampa Bay Lightning. The Florida Panthers are also dropping games, so it's not like oh, they're running away with the division. Like, there is still time. There's still a month left. There's still 2 very key games against Florida. There's still another key game against Detroit. Not Detroit. Yes, actually Detroit, but also a key game against Tampa. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the schedule ahead, but the Leafs still have a West Coast road trip in hand. It'll start this weekend when they're in Nashville. No, sorry. It'll start at the end next week when my calendar has like the split days for the end of March. Like, when it does they cut the days in half and it's like 2 days in the same space of like 1 day. So it's like, it's been messing me up, like looking at my calendar at a quick glance where I have the Leafs like game schedule written in because I'm normal insane.
Yeah.
But then they got West Coast road trip, which yay, San Jose 10:30 start. I love that so much. But
she's revived.
I don't know.
For now. God,
sorry. I was supposed to be like, oh, then they have a game against New York and Colorado is again this week. And then you just left. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Do I keep talking? You're back now, though. So we'll just keep going. I don't know.
How the fuck do I make till mid-May? Because that's when my exams finish. Fuck me.
Don't know.
It'll be fine. It'll all be fine. It'll all be fine. Fuck. Yes, I'm back with the world.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Leafs. All I'm saying is that like I don't want to it's not time to panic. There's still a month before the playoffs start. Like, Leafs literally actually have a month from this day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. From this day till the end of their season where they play their last game of the season against Detroit. And so there's still time for this team to get hot. Like, you want to be hot when you're going into the playoffs. You don't want to start to cool down, but it's like you still need to be winning games this time of the year. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like stuff happens. I know there's kinks to work out with new additions to the lineup. I will say Carlo and Riley has actually been an effective pair if you look at the advanced stats. I think a lot of people are very quick to jump on and give Morgan Riley grief. I think this is a pairing that actually could end up working. So, yeah. That's all I have to say about the Leafs. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I feel like we've hit it all. I feel like if I had anything, it's just going to be vague threats against Max Domi, and I don't know how well that'll go down. Maybe he'll finally get blocked. Who knows? But yeah. Be a fun game tonight. I need a win. I can't carry on like this. But yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we can move on to news around the league. My favorite time. Congratulations to San Jose Sharks for being the first team this season to be eliminated from playoff contention. It happened last night. So congratulations to them. We've hit magic number season, so you're probably going to see more of them. They were just so far out of it. They hadn't even hit 20 wins yet. They're at 18. I checked today. But yeah, San Jose, yeah, 45 points. They have 18 wins.
Oh, Shark. That's tragic. So I didn't realize it got that bad. Like I knew it was bad, but I thought they'd hit 20.
But yeah, no, San Jose Sharks eliminated from playoff contention. But that just means though they can get the early bird special when planning their vacations and booking them.
Yeah. It's all sorted for them.
You know? It's the little things, silver linings.
The little victories.
Enjoy your early vacation, Timothy Liljegren. Who has never not been in the playoffs since he joined the Leafs organization. Anyways.
Enjoy your holiday.
Enjoy your holiday, Timothy Liljegren. But yeah, also as well, some updates from Colorado. Gabriel Landeskog was seen today taking drills with the Avs in practice. It also is expected for him to travel on the Avalanche's upcoming road trip with the team in order to participate in team skates. So we will be in Toronto on Wednesday, which is upcoming on the Leafs schedule. They have a game Wednesday, they have a game Thursday, and then they have a game on Saturday. They're in New York on Thursday to take on the Rangers, and then they have the Predators coming to town on Saturday. Michael Bunting's return to Toronto because he is also back playing after having an appendectomy. He is now also in Nashville, and he is playing games now for the Nashville Predators. So he is going to make his return, which does mean though that we get the Michael Bunting in Toronto. I'm sorry, I love Michael Bunting. I was a little bit upset that he was traded before the Leafs were in Pittsburgh, and he was traded to Nashville before that. And also, well, no, because he wasn't. He just had his appendectomy, and he was still not in the lineup. There we go. And then but now. Hey, maybe this is why he was traded to Nashville, so he'd still get a trade against Toronto. He's still get a game against Toronto because of his appendectomy. I'll do this would.
Would. God works hard, but Kyle Dubas works harder.
Yeah. Speaking of Kyle Dubas and NHL GMs, the NHL GMs meetings are underway today in Florida. They're expected to discuss a bunch of things, including some rule changes involving coaches' challenges and offside reviews and things like that. Probably to see if they can make them shorter, because sometimes, boy, oh boy, do they get long.
They drag.
And I understand you want to get the call right, but also it's one of those things of like, if it's not, like, if you can't get it in a minute and a half, call stays.
Yeah.
Because
It's simply not that deep.
well, we say that until it's like a game, like a game deciding goal in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and then we're like, it is very deep, in fact. Which I understand is the mentality that they want to go for. It's like you have to get the call right, but I'm sorry, sometimes you're sitting there and it's 4 or 5 minutes, and they're deciding if a play is offside, and you're like, let's get this show on the road. So maybe there's a way of streamlining that process to make it faster, or maybe there's going to be a time limit or something where it's like, if it's not clear, if it's too close to call, tie goes to the runner or whatever, who knows. But that's something that's going to be discussed. Also will be discussed is NCAA and CHL draft rights in terms of like draft signing rights, because of the changes made by the NCAA to allow CHL players to play for the NCAA. It does create a little bit of some, I don't want to say confusion, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if a player's drafted out of the NCAA, they have 4 years. Like a team has 4 years where they hold the draft rights of a player. If it's out of the CHL, they have 2. But what if you draft a player out of the CHL and then they go play for the NCAA? Do you still only have 2 years, or do they have 4? It's something to figure out for sure. That's a conversation that also is then a conversation that has to involve the players, because it's a CBA thing, so it has to go then be discussed with the NHLPA, the union. So we'll see. That's just also, I don't know, that was something I was really interested about, this flurry of NHL GM meetings happening. They always happen this time of year in Florida. But then also as well is another one that was being discussed was about like the physical toll of the season, perhaps taking a look at that, especially with 4 nations this year and how physically taxing that was on players who participated. Just one of those things that's being looked at for sure. And maybe reducing that physical toll on players. We will see. I don't know. Perhaps. I really hope it doesn't like result in like shortenings of the season and stuff, because like, I'm sorry, you're gonna mess with too many stats and stuff and like whatever. But yeah, that is the majority of the news. There's not a bunch of news going on right now. It's pretty quiet this time of year because we're post-trade deadline. So there's not a lot of moves that can be made as well, because teams are limited by the number of AHL call-ups that they get this time of year before the playoffs. I don't know. It's kind of quiet on this front. You know, there is some, you may get the extension here and there, but there's not a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a bit of a quiet one.
Yeah.
I don't actually. I'm trying to think of like other stuff that's happened.
No, literally, like that's the thing, is I'm like, I don't know.
Just don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I guess we could end it here even. It'll be a little bit of a shorter episode. But we got some fun stuff this week that we're really excited about that I think makes up for it.
That's some very fun stuff.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this. I mean, we've been really secretive about it, in terms of what it is. but it's
Huge.
something we were both really excited to do, and it was a really big thing for us to do as well, and that was really awesome and super fun. And so you'll see that this week from us, so keep an eye out. That's why you should hey, turn your notifications on, or I don't know, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have that. The podcast, when I say the podcast is everywhere you can get your podcast, like you can find the show wherever you get your podcast, I literally mean everywhere, including YouTube. I do think you should go
everywhere.
It is everywhere. Did you pull up? You should go subscribe to the YouTube, and not to sound like the YouTubers I was watching when I was like in middle school. Subscribe and
subscribe.
Don't forget to hit the little bell to get post notifications so you never miss anytime we post.
Oh my god.
Incredible stuff. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend doing that. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you've made it this far in the episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on post notifications. Keep an eye out this week for things from us.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know, but man, I don't know. Did you have a good St. Patrick's Day weekend?
I've been ill.
You have been ill, yes. So you didn't really go out, did you?
I have been ill. No, I had a really nice St. Patrick's Day nap earlier. I'm gonna have a Guinness with the game tonight, and I'm wearing green. Yeah. I've been a busy bee. This weekend I read 250 pages on to gather a perception of the environment. That's how I spent my St. Patrick's weekend. Thrilling stuff. Yeah, it was my mum's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Can you tell her that I wish her a happy birthday? Because I didn't know it was her birthday yesterday.
Yeah, no. I thought I'd messaged you, but I
didn't. Because I would have wished her a happy birthday.
Yeah, I think I imagined it.
Tell her that I wish her a happy birthday.
I will do.
But yeah, no, I had a great St. Patrick's Day. I went out. Ooh. I had a pint of Guinness. It was great. Yeah. I went to a friend's house on Saturday after watching the Leafs lose to Ottawa. Party was great. Watching them lose was not. No. And then yesterday, had a pretty chill day. We did something exciting. And then today on St. Patrick's Day, though, I'm going to watch the Leafs game with my friend who's going to come over, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I don't know. There's like some other universities in Ontario that do like crazy street parties and stuff. I don't know if you've seen the TikToks from like Queens or Laurier.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe it's a very niche, but you have to have an Ontario For You page to get them. But like Ottawa doesn't really do them because Ottawa is like an actual proper city with more than a couple bars that students go to. So I don't know. We have a pretty big, like pretty popular Irish pub here in Ottawa that I went to on Friday night and had a pint of Guinness with my friends, and they had live music and
fun.
I had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think my sister's celebrating for both of us. She was in the pub for 11:30 this morning.
All the day up on a Monday.
Yep.
See, I'm like, nah, I got stuff to do this week.
She's a first year.
Yeah. Yeah, I got too much stuff to do this week that I'm like, I can't. That was my weekend to like have fun, and now it's Monday and now I have work to do.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I've got a lovely cold Guinness in the fridge. I'll put my Guinness glass in the freezer for a bit.
That's nice. I'm like looking at the time. I'm like, ooh, do I have time to run down to the LCBO to grab a couple cans of Guinness? Perhaps. I think I might, now that I'm thinking about it.
Treat yourself. Go crazy.
Yeah, I think I might actually do it. Go for a walk too, because I think it's nice out. It's just a little bit cold. This weekend it was so nice because it was like 14 degrees and sunny on Saturday. So like I went for a walk and then sat in the window of my favorite coffee shop, and
2 degrees
yeah.
for you at the moment.
I hope you guys like when we don't talk about hockey and we have these little like fun chats at the end. I hope people enjoy them because we're not talking about hockey anymore. But it's
No,
just it's one of those things where it's like
the fact that on my weather app it has my location in Ottawa.
incredible stuff. I think I
It's
still
fun.
have it.
I
I
always
think I
like
still have,
playing.
yeah. But
It's fun, like seeing other people's
also
weather.
apparently I was just gonna say the Utah Hockey Club have settled on a nickname, but no timeline for release yet.
Okay. Sure.
I hope
Oh
it's
my God.
Outlaws.
My nose just unblocked itself and I can breathe again. This is incredible.
Incredible stuff.
I just need to like not be ill. I have too much on. Too much to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll end it here. We will see you later this week. We will not see you on Thursday
No.
because due to scheduling, we might, depending on our schedule, do a fun little surprise Saturday episode. We'll see. I don't know. What are you doing this weekend? That's not an idea we had
No, it's not. I
when we
have
were talking about this yesterday.
a hockey game. Oh my, why will it not open the right app?
Oh, do you have
I
to
don't
be
know
a
what
goalie?
time it is. Yeah. I'm just a little goalie. Oh, fuck. It's like, it's a 3:30 pushback. Why?
I don't know what that means.
And, oh, I'm gonna kill, sorry. The game doesn't start until 3:30 and it's an away game, which means I essentially lose my entire afternoon.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe on Sunday. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe you won't hear from, I don't know. Maybe it'll be Monday. We'll have an episode. You'll see. We'll figure it out. We've never flown this much by the seat of our pants. With this podcast, and it's a little bit of a weird feeling. But yeah, so keep an eye out from some stuff from us later this week. We think you guys will really like it because we really enjoyed it. So,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. That's
Including
literally
YouTube.
everywhere. Go to YouTube. You can hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We are on more than just Spotify. I know I say Spotify like when I tweet out, but that's just because like that's what I use for podcasts and it's free.
Mm. And it's what
also
I think most of our listeners use.
Yes, it is actually a majority of our listeners are on Spotify. So because I can see those stats. But you can too as well. We both can see those stats.
I finally managed to log in.
But yeah, you guys go wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can follow the show on Twitter so you never miss another episode because that's also gets tweeted. Announcements get tweeted out there. We're so easy to find. That's on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4TH. Or also as well, we're presented by Offside News. You can find Offside News on all social platforms at Offside News Co. Or also as well, you can read all the articles, including the aforementioned Cody just had his Leafs recap go up today, and you can read that over at Offside and many more articles at offsidenewsco.com. But if you really miss the two of us between episodes, because it might be a while before you hear from us like again, like live, who knows? You can find us on Twitter where we're hilarious and give excellent analysis about the Leafs and other things at 60 Leafs for Marcie, at Pairview1 for myself. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you when we see you. In the meantime, go Leafs go.
Go Leafs
Actually,
go.
wait, no. Go St. Pat's go.
Go St. Pat's go.